Hello and welcome to the Mal&Johnny Show. This week we thought we'd talk about red letter days, those days that maybe changed our lives forever. Maybe we didn't realise at the time, but looking back, they were pivotal moments in our lives and our careers. Johnny Tudor, because you've had many red letter days, haven't you, over the years? I'm just trying to think for you, when you found out you were going to be on Opportunity Knocks, do you remember the day? Do you remember how it happened and all of those type of things when you get the letter or the invitation?
Yeah, well, first of all, my father was a big influence on me, obviously, because he'd been a performer and he had a lot of connections. He got me the audition, right? Because he knew a fellow called Eddie Espinosa, who was a ballet master, who'd been in a show with him, and he was a friend of Doris Barry. She was the associate producer. Mm-hmm. And her sister was Alicia Markova, so that was the connection, the ballet.
The ballet dancer, right.
Anyway, so he got me the audition, so I did the audition for Doris, and that's how I first got on it.
Right.
And then she said, well, first of all, she said, no, I love you, she said, but Hughie has to see you.
Right.
So can you get to Liverpool? Oh. Because we're doing some auditions in Liverpool. So that's how I went and did it again then for Hughie Green. So that's how I got it. So I was just told I got it. I didn't have a letter. Yeah. I was just told you're on next week, whatever it was, But a lot of things have happened like that. I mean, I suppose my father was the biggest influence on me. I remember coming home from work one day. I was working in a shop.
Yeah.
I was about 17, 18. And he said, I got an audition for you. I said, what do you mean I haven't got an act? So he said, well, we'll soon get one, he said. So he got the old piano because he was a good pianist. And he worked on a 3 or 4 minute spot with a bit of tap dancing, a bit of singing, a couple of little impressions. And I went to Swansea on a bus. And the audition was in some church hall up in, I think, just as you're coming into Swansea on the right. There's, if you come out the Jersey Marine, what's the name of that?
St. Thomas? St. Thomas? Something like that? St. Thomas? Jersey Marine? St. Thomas? I don't know.
No, it's Swansea itself. Oh. As you're coming in on the right.
Oh, I wonder. Okay.
Anyway,
yeah.
I'll remember it. And so I did this audition there, and I got on a program called Looking for the Stars. Now, this was in 1962?
What?
61?
What?
So anyway, off I go on the bus, because I didn't have a car, and I got on this thing, and I had to go to Bristol then to TWW, as it was, to do this program. So that was my first real in there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then, how did it go after that? The next thing was, hang on, what happened after that? I just started doing the clubs, I think.
Yeah.
And then I did nothing much happened until I did an audition for the summer season.
Okay.
For Butlins.
Right.
And that was I did the summer season in Butlins in Skegness.
Yeah.
And it was me and a fellow called Reg Dixon, who was quite a big comic in his day.
Right.
And a group called the Three Squires. Bill Squire is still alive. They were much older than me. So I'm going to see Bill now next week. He's 87. I'm going to go and see him. He lives near Hastings. And then there was a fellow called Del Derrick who played the vibraphones, and his wife on that. And there was, what else was there? And me. That was it. And the 6 girl dancers. That was the show.
Wow.
So that was my first professional gig. So that's 60 years ago. I beat you by 10 years, but...
Exactly. And the thing is, did they tell you straight away at the audition, Mr. Tudor, you've got the job? Or did they write to you afterwards? Or
what happened was with Op Knox, I just done my bit, and I was in the wings. I'd gone in the wings, and the secretary came rushing in and went, Johnny, don't go anywhere. We want to see you after. He was impressed, you see, because he loved the song and dance man bit, you see.
Yeah. And what did you feel? How did you feel?
He was a real old pro.
Yeah. How did you feel?
Oh, well, I elated, really. I was, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to me when I did something else. Oh, I did an audition at the Talk of the Town.
Right.
For a bloke called Robert Nesbitt. Now, Robert Nesbitt used to produce all the variety show, the Royal Variety Show. He's real tough, was Robert, frankly posh. Mm-hmm. So I did this audition at the Talk of the Town. Same thing. The secretary came rushing through, stay behind, want to see you later. So I just told me I had the job.
Wow.
I mean, I was so lucky. Whenever I took my man, he was like my talisman. I never failed an audition because I don't know what happened, but he was always there for me, playing for me, see?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as you say, I've been thinking a lot about it this week because it's 10 years on Monday. It was 10 years. No, goodness me, 50 years.
50 years?
Last July. And obviously it was a big date. So I've got my dad's diary here, right? This is my dad's diary from 1973.
All right, yeah.
And I was trying to look back on that year, because 73 is an important year. You know, I sent a tape to this guy called John Peel on Radio 1. I didn't know much about him because his show was past my bedtime, but I got a letter back in May. So I looked at the date in May that this letter came back in, or the days around it, and there's nothing in my dad's diary. It's all about gardening. It's all about, you know, taking the church services and stuff. So I thought, oh, right. Well, let's have a look at July. So on the 10th of July, I went to London to record the session. And starts off, because my dad kept a diary every night. Rather cloudy day, some very slight drizzle at times. Rose at 6:15. Took the boys to catch the train to London. Gareth looked after the bag. David carried the guitar case. Maldwyn walked behind to see he didn't bang it on anything. And then a quiet day in school, so a little bit of me coming back in the night. You know, so that was a moment. I went to London, met all these famous people, and so, right, a week later, the show went out, 17th. See, there's a big starry bit there, right? Let me see if I can get the camera. A big starry bit, a star there and a star there, on the 17th of July, the day that really did change my life. And it's got first tomato of the season eaten. That was the start event. How's that for, you know, he does actually mention, my brother had rung him to say I was in the Daily Mirror. My picture's in the video. So I bought 7 copies in Kumbulla. Also called on the dentist, staff pleased about Maldwyn. So it's like, you know, it's like, this was a day that changed my life. And my dad's big mark was first tomato of the season.
Tomatoes.
I mean, you know...
And you know, isn't it funny how everything touches everybody's life? If you think of what... It's like a progression of stuff. Yeah. It's after I did this summer season, I got an agent then. I was with London Management.
Right.
And anyway, they put me in a show called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Yes.
That was with Charles Hawtrey and Kenneth Connor, and
brilliant.
Great cast. Really. And... but there was a bloke there. It was the ASM, you know, for those who don't know, assistant stage manager, called John Peacock. Okay, and he's a nice bloke. He's about a bit younger than me, about my age, and we palled up, right? And he was quite good at writing stuff, and he wrote some lyrics. Mm. See, so I said, well, what are you going to do with these? I don't know. He said, I said, I'll tell you what. He said, let me put some music to it. So me and the old man got on the piano. Right, and we wrote 4 songs. Okay? Right, and I recorded them in a little studio in Cardiff. A fellow called George Sharland. He was the stills photographer for ITV, but he had a little recording studio, you know, like a 4-track or something. Right. So I recorded the old man on piano. I recorded these 4 songs and forgot about them completely. And about a year later, I get a phone call from my old dancing teacher, and she says, "John, there's a TV producer wants to meet you." I said, "Who's that?" She said, "Ruth Price." Now, Ruth Price used to be head of light entertainment in BBC Wales, okay? Yeah. So I go down to the studio where she was, and I'm talking to her, and she'd gone looking for singers, and she'd gone into this studio and heard these tracks, okay? So she said, "Can you sing in Welsh?" I said, "Well, I used to sing in Welsh in school. I don't know what I'm singing about," I said, because I hadn't learned then. She said, "Well, that's no problem, as long as you can pronounce it." She said, "We like your songs. I'll translate them." She said, and I got on a thing called Disco Down.
Wow.
Now, Disco Down was a live pop show, right? Every Saturday, live. So I get 26 of these, right? So I'm on every week learning these Welsh songs like a parrot, walking about the beach going, "Oh, to where they to go on with it." I didn't know what I was singing. I tell you what an education that was. Yeah. So that was like fortuitous. I met somebody in the show that had written these lyrics. Then I put, you know, it's all knock on, isn't it? It is,
and these little moments.
So you're talking about op knocks. So by the time from Disco Down, then I did a thing called Baronessa, which was with Ryan Davis before he went Ryan and Ronnie, and Ruth Maddock. Mm-hmm. She called herself Ruth Llewellyn, and so I'd had a lot of TV experience. So when I did Opportunity Knocks, I was like an old pro. I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I did a couple of interviews this week about the 50th anniversary, and they said, "Well, were you nervous going to the studio to record, you know, these songs?" But the thing is, I was a seasoned professional by the time I was 12 or 13 because I used to sing every Friday and Saturday in youth club. I used to, do the school assembly, do the Eisteddfods, get your guitar out, man, let's, do a song. So I was actually pretty used to, standing up or sitting on the chair in front of a lot of people and singing the song. You have to do that. It's amazing how quickly your life changes, though, isn't it? You go on Opportunity Knocks and then suddenly lots of doors open. I've seen a couple of documentaries lately, one about Elton, one about Wham. 1 minute they're living with their mums and dads in North London. Next minute they're touring the world. They're playing stadiums. And another thing that sort of struck me about my dad's diary. So my dad, obviously my dad loved me loads and did actually. They were very proud. The funny thing is about this July the 17th. Parents of Maldwin's friends excited too. Basically, my mum and dad didn't want it in the paper in case anybody found out. But they found out in school. and I think it was Anne Roberts' dad, contacted the Evening Post. But, so that's July. So we go to October the 30th, right? So my dad was my chaperone. A rush to the studio in Notting Hill, another exciting time. A rush to Rocket Records at 5 p.m. A gay time with Elton John and the others. Paddington in a phantom.
That's a good phrase.
Exactly. Paddington.
A gay time with Elton John.
Paddington in Phantom 5 Rolls Royce. A pleasant journey home. So my dad's life went from being a headmaster, Sunday school superintendent, who was more concerned with preaching and doing the gardening in July, and by October he's in the back of Elton John's Phantom 5 Rolls Royce. Things change very quickly, don't they?
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember when my father, when he gave up show business, he had a pub. Well, he had 3 pubs, but the last pub was in Cardiff. See, so my mother's old dancing teacher called Kitty Slocum came to the pub one night, and I just seen. I think it was. You see somebody tap dancing, either Dickie Henderson or somebody on TV. Mm-hmm. I said, I want to do that. I said. So she said, well, come down the studio, I'll teach you. And so that was another fortuitous thing. If she hadn't come to the pub, I wouldn't have gone down and learned to tap dance. Yeah, it's amazing. Everything goes like. But Emily Squires was telling me the other day, she met this bloke that was in a group. I won't say it is because they're still around. And she was going out with him for a while. But it didn't work out because I think he was either married or whatever. And but she wouldn't have met him if my father hadn't met Dorothy Squires when she was 15. Mm. Dorothy Squires hadn't befriended me because of my father, hadn't got me recording with her in Castle Records, where this group used to record. So Emily met. So it's like everything joins on.
Absolutely.
It's the butterfly effect, isn't it?
It is. And the little things. And interesting, like Wham, they were massive. And then George Michael was even bigger than Wham, but they were saying they were nearly dropped by their record company, and somebody pulled out the Top of the Pops. So last minute they were asking you to do Top of the Pops tomorrow, and they did it, and it changed their lives. Elton was talked about being dropped from making records because there was a bit of interest but not much, and somebody sent his record to America and he went over there, and an overnight sensation, and if it hadn't worked out, then he'd been back to being a session player.
Look what happened with Tom Jones. When Tom Jones got his first big break, Gordon Mills came home because he's from Pontypridd. He's from the Rhondda or Ponty or something, and he came home and he'd seen Tom in a club. Okay, so he took him up to London and he wrote Not Unusual. So the rest is history. But before then, they were recording, trying demos, this, that, and the other, and then. PJ Proby, do you remember him?
Yeah, his trousers always used to split.
PJ Proby split his pants on stage. There was a big furore about it, and Tom took his place. So that was like Tom's big break, if you like. He had the ponytail in those days and all the bit,
Wow, well,
isn't it funny how things happen?
It is funny. And Bonnie Tyler, Bonnie was singing in the Townsman, I think it was, and Roger Bell, who was working for a guy called Ronnie Scott, not the jazz player, but the songwriter, was coming down to see another lad called Vic. And he was just wandering through the club and he heard this great singer. And he went back and told Ronnie Scott, I didn't, but you should have a listen to this girl from Swansea, from Skewing, And it took a little while, but that just chance encounter of just somebody hearing.
Yeah, it's a lot of luck.
But you've got to, the thing is...
show business is so much talent, but a lot of luck's attached. You could be the best. Gordon Mills once told me, he said, if you're a boxer, and you knock out the champion of the world, you're champion of the world.
Yeah.
If you're the best singer in the world and nobody sees you, you're never going to get anywhere.
No,
and it's true, is it?
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't just. I was talking to a lad the other day, and he's got these lovely songs, great tracks, and he's not sure what to do with them. I said, well, put them out, because the thing is, if nobody hears them,
somebody might hear them.
Exactly,
Yeah.
it might just sort of open the door. You can be sure if you keep them in a drawer, nobody's going to hear them, Johnny.
Exactly.
The days that changed our lives, and I suppose the day that changed my life. I was looking on Twitter and seeing a letter from Ernest Borgnine's wife to a chap called Johnny Tudor saying how much she'd enjoyed him on a cruise. And I thought, that's the guy I need to get on my late night radio program to tell some showbiz stories. And here we are. I don't know, 20
years later.
20 years later.
Oh yeah, Ernest Borgnine, he's a lovely bloke, he was. I was thinking about him the other day when we docked in Saint-Tropez, and I'm just walking along the front there, having a look at all the artists painted, and Ernest Borgnine and his wife Tova are sitting in a cafe in the front. John, come on over, see, have a coffee and ice cream. So I said, okay. So I'm having ice cream with him, and this woman comes up and asks for Ernest Borgnine's autograph, because she's a big film star, and he says to her, you better have this guy, he's great. I said, I'm most embarrassed. She knew the bloody hell it was. But no, he was a lovely bloke, was Ernest. But you do meet people in this business, it's amazing. But I tell you another thing with me, when you're a kid, when you're 15, 16, 17, I don't know if it happened to you, I used to get, not depressed, it's the wrong word, but your hormones are everywhere, and you've got no kind of purpose, and I was a bit like depressed. I don't know what it was. As soon as I went into show business, it was a goal for me, And I don't know about you. I wasn't looking, I want to be a big star. I just liked the aura of it.
Yeah.
The theatre, the smell of the dust on the curtains, the sound of the tinny band tuning up. Everything was like magic to me, see?
Yeah. And it still is.
It was, and a bloke walked into the pub called Ron Perriam. I'll never forget this. And Ron was at the Windmill the same time as Bruce Forsyth, okay? And he was a very good dancer, was Ron. He'd retired from the business. So he says to my father, he said, your boy's a good dancer. He said, well, how do you know? He said, I can tell by the way he walks. I don't know what that meant. So he taught me some routines. And then we went away together and did a gig in Manchester. My father on piano, and us two, me and Ron. And his club was horrendous. It was called the Southern Sporting Club Manchester. And it was a huge club, like hundreds of people. And the first night, there's a boxing ring in front of the stage. So how are we going to do my act? There's a boxing ring. I can't dance in there. So we had to do it behind this boxing ring. But, it's weird, the things that happen to you. But I had a purpose. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. When you've got a purpose in life, I think everybody needs one.
Yes.
I mean, it's like now, well, like with your records, you still want to put them out there.
Yeah.
I like still writing stuff. I like, doing a bit of TV when I get it, or a bit of radio, whatever. You don't stop, do you? It keeps you going.
We're not going to retire. We'll never retire.
Don't retire.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, have a great week. And
you.
Should we do it again next week?
Yeah, why not? I'm looking forward to coming and doing a show with you down in Swansea.
October the 3rd. Tickets are on sale now. Hey, we're doing well. Nearly half sold. So
wow, fantastic. Yeah. Is Splinter still the sound man?
He's retired.
Oh.
Bringing Adrian Bamford.
Still got a good one there, though.
Bringing the top guy in. Adrian Bamford from Nice. Oh, yeah.
How long do you want me to do? Hour and a half?
20 minutes before, 20 minutes after. I don't know. Try and stop him. How on earth are we going to stop Johnny Tudor once he gets on that stage? That's what I'm worried about.
Look, I'm an old pro. You tell me it's 10 minutes, I'll do it on the dot. I'll time it.
I always say I'm rubbish at talking, but I can go up to the pips, no problem. All right, well, hey, lovely to speak to you. So it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him. Ta-da, bud.
Ta-da.